No, no one has
I have
registered.
I reviewed the minutes and it appears to be in order as far as I can tell. If anybody has any corrections or comments about the minutes, if not, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, and second Kathy, okay. All in favor? Any
Aye.
aye, any opposed? Okay. Reports, okay, first of all, health inspection. Do we have a report from the health inspector today?
Hello, how are you?
Well, hi there. Are you Shelley by any
Huh?
chance?
I am.
Well, I heard this is Shelley. Is it Herbert? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. That is correct.
Yeah, and you're a new addition. Welcome, Shelley.
Yes. So how are you? So the month of
We're doing
November,
okay.
the month of November, I finished all the school districts. And also, so that's all done for the month of November finally. And then I did my regular inspections plus complaints. So it's been a busy month with all the schools done.
Are the schools
Can you hear
something
me?
you just do once a year? I don't ever remember the schools being
Like-
mentioned. Maybe I just forgot.
Twice a year.
And does this relate to their food service, I presume?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And then, so now we're working on the bars. We're working on that. So I started working at night doing the bars, making sure they have all their paperwork and documents in order, their business privilege licenses, their liquor license, making sure if they're serving food that they are all have their serve safe. So that's what I've been working on now.
Anything out of the ordinary coming up?
That's the nightlife is different than the day life. So that's very within itself, just going in at night. Sometimes you get to see all kinds at night.
Do you go by yourself?
No, I have a gentleman with me. I never go
Oh.
by myself
Oh,
because we don't. A lot of them get irate that I'm there at night.
I don't know. Uh-oh.
So,
Do
you
the
know,
health
but-
inspectors go into private clubs as well?
Yes, we do the Democratic clubs as well. I like all the private clubs. Yes.
And what about after hours bars? I don't know if there's still many of those around.
Well,
Or-
There's not many of those around anymore.
Good.
We used to have one here on Morgantown Road, but that one stopped.
I know
Thank
they were
goodness.
always a source of problem.
Yes.
Yeah, my mother used to say, nothing good happens after midnight.
You're right.
All righty, okay. How about lead abatement? Let me see here, is Jarrell here today? Anybody talking about lead abatement?
Yeah, he was unable to attend today and he did not send me anything. I'll follow up with him tomorrow.
Okay, I was curious, I don't know, maybe all of us got this. I got I guess it was an email, and they wanted me, I did it, I just didn't get it back to them, to take a photograph of the pipe coming in from the street. And I guess the purpose of that was they could tell visually whether it was copper or whether it was galvanized or whether it was lead. Is that correct?
Yes.
What happens if it were lead? I don't think mine is. Do they then necessarily say it's got to be replaced, or do they test your water to see if it's an issue?
Well, they're in the midst of replacing lead. That's what they just did on our block.
Okay.
Yeah, they dug up the streets to see about the pipes. Lead pipes they're trying to get rid of.
Right. Okay. All right. Let me see. EMS, do we have any report from EMS today? Chief Stout, do you have anything to add?
I do not have anything directly, but I believe Chief Snitsky might have a little bit of information.
Oh, okay, I didn't see him as here.
Hi.
Oh, okay, yeah, no picture, I see the name now. Michael, anything to add?
Real quickly, just a couple things. Still averaging about 20 to 30 Narcan events a month, on average, unfortunately. And RSV cases in the community, as I'm sure anyone who's involved in medicine will tell you, have been on the rise, especially in the older population. They've been a little bit on the sicker side of things. Little bit of a note with all of the things that happened in October and in November, candidate-wise, the city fire and EMS provided all the logistical care basically for anyone who, spectators, protesters, whatever, for all three events that happened. At one point, we had Vice President Harris as well as President-elect Trump, both in town literally within 30 minutes of each other. And for a 9.8 square mile town, we had every ambulance, every piece of equipment in play. And thankfully, there were very minimal patient contacts or anything, so that was good. I don't think anybody else really in the country had to deal with much of that. I mean, yes, Pittsburgh and other places had them one at a time or one early in the day. We literally had them within 30, 40 minutes of each other. So that's all I have for right now.
I'm curious, in the event of some tragic, event or injury to either of those candidates, like, did the Secret Service or somebody come to you and, to work with you on all of that? I'm just curious.
So what happened was after the attempts in Butler County, what had happened was they had a lengthy list of all the items that they wanted. The first visit that he made in October, we had St. Luke's Hospital. They provided an emergency room doctor with blood that could be given and everything on site if anything happens with anybody. The second time, Reading Hospital's health system helped us with those things. We had an emergency room physician on the outside and the inside of the arena because they were expecting a large amount of people. The other aspect of that was to our ambulances for both times his motorcade was there. One of our ambulances was tasked with, if something should happen to him, they were specifically designated for him. So, little town, kind of a big deal. So, it was pretty, impressive from that standpoint because not everyone can say they get to do that.
Well, thank goodness there were no issues. Always better to be prepared. All righty, well, thanks. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay, then on to old business. Is there still anything happening with the ambulance ride-along thing?
Yes, it's just unfortunately, like, due to some maneuvering around and with us getting into the colder months, we haven't really been able to get all that together. But that is something I'd like to try to push for the spring. When the weather's nice and have all of our ambulances with the firehouses, we can kind of get some things together with that.
All right. The other old business is the topic of the Berks County Department of Health. To refresh everyone's memory, after COVID, there was some concern about whether we would be better off with our own real Department of Health, which is distinctly different than we, the Board of Health. And the various Berks County agencies were discussing doing that. And I don't know where that stands. Dr. Wang or Dr. Schwartz, do you have any information on any of that? I don't know if that's still is a dead issue or what, but that's really something at the county level for them to take up.
I would agree. There's been
Alrighty.
no information, and even when the commissioners did that study and a couple years ago now, I got copies of that, and I've heard nothing since. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I haven't heard
And then
anything.
new business.
The medical society is still, trying to work with the commissioners to move forward. I would guess that funding is the barrier, but I think it's still on their radar, but maybe now. I guess there's a lot of funding uncertainty for a lot of things right now. So I think that being in the public health forefront, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. So we'll just have to see. But I think there's certainly you know, a need that people recognize now to have that.
Alrighty. Then on to new business. Probably the most significant thing that has came up again is the issue of fluoride in water. And to refresh everyone's memory that maybe haven't been on the board for a long time, probably going back as many as 8 or 9 years ago, there were some challenges by a couple of local groups who felt strongly that fluoride should not be in our water. So we contacted a number of agencies who had skin in the games about that, dental associations. We did a fair amount of research and eventually wrote a position paper that I think she sent to you that basically said, we know that there are huge advantages and it saved a lot of kids. I wouldn't say they've saved their lives, but misery and improved their dentition, which parallels with their general health. And it seemed at the time the evidence against it was scant. There was a Chinese study that suggested that it might cause some mental impairment, but that was viewed by some as a lousy study. And now what has happened is as I understand it, is that there was a challenge to the California Supreme Court, I think by a group in Florida that's been very against fluoride. And so the California Supreme Court recently came out with a ruling. I've read it a couple of times. I'm still not sure I understand. I think it basically means that the governing agencies, whether that's the CDC or FDA, have to go back and look at it again. So I don't know if there's some new piece of evidence that's come forth that has spooked people. Dr. Wang or Dr. Schwartz, do you have know anything about that? Or yeah, and this is not something that we, as the Board of Health of the City of Reading, are going to declare, oh yeah, we reviewed the studies and we got to take it out or keep it in or whatever. I'm guessing at this point, all we can do is wait and see where this percolates down through the system and what becomes of it. Does anybody have any more insight as to what's going on out in California than what I've just described? Because I don't understand it completely.
Yeah, I think, you know, this comes in waves every few years. And I would guess that, you know, there's, you know, renewed strength in some conspiracy theorists and various health issues, you know, about whether those are wise or not, everything from fluoride to vaccination, right? So I think that we're going to be hearing more about that in the next few years, unfortunately.
I mean, I think it's fair to keep an open mind to any, you know, new or credible studies that would suggest that there is a negative. But like everything, it's, you know, what are the benefits and what are the risks? So
yeah, I mean,
sometimes
fluoride is a
people don't.
public health triumph, so I think that would
Yes,
be.
right. Yeah, I sat in the dental chair too many years. I got my fluoride too late. Dr. Sanders' office down across from 13th and Union. And back in those days, he didn't have a high-speed air drill. He had the belt-driven thing, like, you know, oh my God. It's like the Spanish Inquisition. It's bad. All right. All right, I guess the only other new business is for the 2025 meeting schedule. I presume we should just keep it on the same every 2-month rotation, which would put us for the second Tuesday in February. So, you know, if any of those dates.
If this day and time works for everyone, I'll just keep rolling forward with that schedule.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, it was not great when we met in person, but the attendance has been so much better, and it's far less disruptive to people's schedule doing it here online. And I don't see any disadvantage to it. So I think there's some kind of meetings where maybe there is an advantage in being there in person. I'm not sure this is one of them. And
yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you. See, is it possible one day we can meet it together? I don't know. We're going for coffee or something like that. You know, that way I can meet you, I can meet the rest of the people. We can talk.
Yeah. You know, I've thought about whether we should do something. I don't know if I should say socially or something, but sometime get together. It's fun to kind of know each other a little better. I was actually thinking of sponsoring something like that, but I don't know if there's rules against that. You know, if you wanted to have a happy hour or something someday after work. I know there are all sorts of there are all sorts of crazy rules, you know. So, I don't know, something to think about. All right, any other new business, old business, or other business that anybody would like to discuss?
John,
All right, well then can I,
Florida is calling for ending fluoride in the water.
what do you mean by
Florida,
Florida? I know there's,
Florida is calling for an end, but apparently some of the cities are trying to opt out.
oh, I see. You know, it's funny, I met with somebody who was staunchly against it. And I asked him the following question and he stumbled and I never really got an answer. I said, if you had well water and, you know, it was naturally occurring, nobody put anything in it. It was the way God gave it to you out of the ground. And you had 7 parts per million or whatever the recommended level of fluoride is. Would you not drink that water? I mean, were you opposed to the government adding stuff? And, you know, the question of whether we should be adding stuff is tough. I mean, we've been adding, what is it? What's the stuff we add to bread, folate, for what, neural tube disorders in pregnancy? Did I remember that right? That was like from a long time ago. And where they put thiamine in certain things so, you know, and we put vitamin D in milk. So it's a whole nother question. All righty. Okay, if there's no other business, then may I have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Make a motion for adjournment.
Second. All right. See you all in 2 months. Have a very Merry Christmas. Everybody stay safe.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
You.
Yeah.
Happy
Merry
holidays,
Christmas,
everybody.
So long.